Today we will look at the desperate attempt of the three sons of the Emperor to save their beloved empire from crumbling, and the glorious yet fragile triumvirate that ended up in pieces, leading to the dramatic duel between Guilliman and Lion L. Johnson. The Ultramarines, one of the most iconic and revered Space Marine chapters in the Imperium, embody the principles of glory, duty, and discipline. As descendants of the primarch Guilliman, they adhere strictly to the Codex Astartes, a comprehensive set of doctrines that guide their military strategies, organizational structure, and conduct. The Ultramarines trace their origins back to the Great Crusade, when the Emperor of Mankind sought to reunite the scattered human worlds under the banner of the Imperium. Their primarch, Guilliman, was discovered on the world of Macragge, where he had already established a thriving and orderly civilization. Guilliman's leadership and administrative genius were instrumental in shaping the Ultramarines into the paragons of order and efficiency they are known as today. One of the most defining aspects of the Ultramarines is their strict adherence to the Codex Astartes. Written by Guilliman himself, the Codex serves as a comprehensive guide to the organization, tactics, and philosophy of the Space Marines. It prescribes the division of Space Marine legions into smaller, more manageable chapters, each consisting of 1,000 warriors. The Ultramarines' rigid adherence to these guidelines has made them a model for other chapters and a stabilizing force within the Imperium. The Ultramarines are renowned for their tactical flexibility and discipline. Unlike some other Space Marine chapters that might specialize in particular forms of warfare, the Ultramarines are adept at adjusting their strategies to meet the demands of any battlefield scenario. This versatility is a direct result of their adherence to the Codex Astartes, which emphasizes a balanced and pliant approach to warfare. Their ability to coordinate and execute complex battle plans with precision has earned them a reputation as one of the most effective fighting forces in the galaxy. Honor and nobility are core to the Ultramarines' identity. They view themselves as the protectors of humanity and the upholders of the Emperor's vision. This sense of duty extends beyond the battlefield. The Ultramarines are also known for their efforts to govern and protect the worlds within their realm, known as Ultramar. Guilliman's teachings emphasize the importance of governance and stewardship, and the Ultramarines take this role seriously, ensuring that the planets under their protection thrive and contribute to the greater good of the Imperium. Ultramar, the realm governed by the Ultramarines, is often cited as a model of effective imperial governance. It consists of several prosperous and well-defended worlds, each benefiting from the stability and order imposed by the Ultramarines. The success of Ultramar is a testament to Guilliman's vision and the chapter's commitment to upholding his principles. It serves as a beacon of hope and a standard for other imperial worlds to aspire to. The recent return of Guilliman from stasis has reinvigorated the Ultramarines and the Imperium as a whole. As the avenging son, Guilliman brings with him not only unparalleled strategic acumen, but also a renewed sense of purpose and direction. His leadership has been crucial in the ongoing efforts to combat the myriad threats facing the Imperium, from the insidious forces of chaos to the persistent tides of Xenos invaders. However, the Ultramarines' dedication to the Codex has its downside. As the Codex commands, chapters' numbers are limited, and their numbers cannot exceed 1,000 warriors. This limits the ability to spread order and protection, and only a few worlds receive a blessing of peace and prosperity under the rule of the chapter. Moreover, honor and dignity is a luxury at war. Ultramarines rarely resort to desperate measures or unorthodox tactics, making them an efficient yet predictable force. They have to rely on their less conservative allies to do the dirty work when facing an especially devious foe. Speaking about those allies, there is another Space Marine chapter in the Imperius, the infamous Dark Angels. One of the most enigmatic and reticent Space Marine chapters, they are defined by their relentless pursuit of redemption and their collective complex, the Dark History. As the first of the Emperor's Space Marine legions, they hold a unique place within the Imperium of Man. The Dark Angels were the first legion of Space Marines created by the Emperor of Mankind, and their primarch Lion L. Johnson was found on the death world of Caliban. Johnson, a formidable warrior and leader, united the knightly orders of Caliban and brought them into the Imperium. Under his leadership, the Dark Angels became a strong force during the Great Crusade, known for their prowess in battle and their strict adherence to martial discipline. One of the most defining events in the history of the Dark Angels is the fall of Caliban and the resulting Great Betrayal. During the Horus heresy, a civil war that tore the Imperium apart, the Dark Angels were away from their home world. In their absence, a rebellion led by Luther, Johnson's closest friend and confidant, erupted on Caliban. When Johnson returned, a cataclysmic battle ensued, resulting in the destruction of Caliban. The traitors, known as the Fallen, were scattered across the galaxy. This event left a deep scar on the chapter and set them on a path of secrecy and redemption. The Dark Angels are defined by their unyielding quest to hunt down and capture the Fallen. This secretive mission, known only to the highest ranks of the chapter, drives many of their actions and decisions. The Inner Circle, comprising the most trusted and senior members of the chapter, oversees this eternal hunt. The existence of the Fallen and the true nature of the chapter's mission are hidden from the wider Imperium and even from the majority of the Dark Angels themselves. This obsession with vindication and privacy often leads them to make morally ambiguous decisions, prioritizing their quest over other Imperial objectives. Surreptitiousness is a core aspect of the Dark Angels' identity. The chapter is divided into several distinct groups, each with varying levels of knowledge about their true mission. The Death Wing, the first company, consists of the chapter's most elite warriors, all of whom are privy to the truth about the Fallen. The Raven Wing, the second company, specializes in rapid response and reconnaissance, often tasked with locating the Fallen. The rest of the chapter remains largely unaware of the dark secrets held by their leaders, maintaining a facade of normalcy. The Dark Angels are renowned for their martial prowess and tactical flexibility. They excel in various forms of warfare, from close-quarters combat to armored assaults and aerial strikes. The chapter has a wide array of unique units, weapons and combat tricks at their disposal. Their specialized forces, such as the Deathwing Terminators and the Ravenwing Bikers and Landspeeders, are highly skilled and equipped with the best war gear available. This versatility makes them a formidable force on the battlefield, capable of adapting to and overcoming diverse threats. The legacy of their primarch, Lionel Johnson, continues to influence the Dark Angels. Johnson was a master strategist and a paragon of glory and duty. His disappearance during the final stages of the Horus heresy has left the chapter with a sense of unresolved duty and loss. The Dark Angels strive to uphold Johnson's ideals and honor his memory through their continuous pursuit of the Fallen and their unwavering commitment to the Emperor. There was a dark chapter in Imperium history called the Imperium Secundus. Heresy comes in many forms. It can be blatant, like the one which now tears down the stars, but it can be subtle too, accidental. To make an example, the building of a new Imperium when the old one is not yet pronounced dead. I am not building my own Imperium, Gantorga. I am preserving what's left of the original. Guilliman, Lord of Macragge, conversing with Timur Gantorga, Shopsite massacre survivor of the White Scars Legion. Following the devastating Battle of Calth, the 13th Legion had been severely weakened and no longer posed a significant threat to Horus's plan to march on Terra. Erebus had completed his vile ritual on Calth's surface, summoning a ruin storm in the galaxy's eastern fringe, a massive warp storm more destructive than anything humanity had encountered since the Age of Strife. This ruin storm was intended to rend the void, splitting the galaxy and making vast regions of the Imperium of Man impassable for many centuries. It would isolate and trap loyalist forces like the Ultramarines, preventing them from coordinating and supporting each other as the traitor legions advanced toward Terra. It even temporarily obstructed their ability to warn each other of Horus's betrayal and the interstellar civil war engulfing the Imperium. The ruin storm would leave Terra isolated, vulnerable to Horus's looming shadow. Cut off from the Imperium, the Lord of Macragge decided to secure the 500 worlds of Ultramar. He aimed to anchor the remnants of the Imperium on the Ultramarines' homeworld of Macragge, The 13th Legion had discovered a way to navigate their void ships through the warp without the Astronomican's beacon, using the recently found Xenos technology on Sota, known as the Pharaohs. The Ultramarines managed to maintain some security of transit and the possibility of properly reassembling their void ships when transitioning from the warp into real space. For those trapped behind the ruined storm, the 500 worlds were effectively the Imperium. Everything else, the rest of the Imperium, the security of Terra, the survival of the Emperor, was theoretical. Macragge was the only certainty, the only foundation Guilliman knew he could rely on in such extremity. Guilliman hesitated to formally and publicly declare the formation of the Imperium Secundus, confiding his intentions only to his closest advisers. Though he was convinced of its necessity, he did not shrink from its less savoury aspects. He wasn't driven by fear of usurping the Emperor like Horus. In truth, his hesitation stemmed from grief. Grief over the possible loss of his father, the Emperor Terra, and the grand dream of the Imperium. He believed the only way for their civilization to survive was to consolidate within the 500 worlds of Ultramar. It was a burden Guilliman had never sought, made heavier by his profound sorrow. The avenging son refused to declare himself the new emperor, despite his advisors' suggestions to at least proclaim himself regent of Imperium Secundus. He hated the word and the thought of ruling. Guilliman knew he could not both command and rule. He could not administer this new empire and be its figurehead. His advisors insisted no one else could serve as head of state or regent, for he was the last known loyalist primarch, the last loyal son of the emperor. He was destined to become the rallying point of Imperium Secundus, to reveal his strength, resolve, and glory like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Despite their urgings, Guilliman remained reluctant. He could not build an empire and place himself on the throne, even if he were the only candidate. It smacked of hubris, arrogance, overweening pride, and foul ambition, echoing the deeds of Horus Lupercal. Guilliman feared that declaring himself as the ruler of Imperium Secundus would tarnish his reputation among those who still respected him and confirm the suspicions of his detractors. They would perceive him as opportunistically seizing power during a crisis, branding himself as their king. Critics would accuse the Lord of displaying undue eagerness and exploiting the situation for personal gain. Guilliman would have preferred any loyal primarch, even the fierce Leman Russ, to assume the role of acting ruler of Imperium Secundus rather than himself. It was a responsibility he had no desire to take on, but, with no other candidates available, it became a burden he was ultimately willing to bear. However, Guilliman's prayers were soon answered with the arrival of an Imperial expeditionary fleet from the Thramus sector in the eastern fringes. This fleet, led by none other than Primarch Lion L. Johnson of the Dark Angels Legion, translated into the system. Guilliman felt immense relief that one of his wayward brothers had arrived in his hour of need. Yet, of all his brothers, he wondered why it had to be the Lion who found his way through the storm. While Guilliman greatly admired the Lord of the First Legion, he believed a shadow always hung over him. The Lion was shrouded in secrets, playing his cards close to his chest, and often walking his path alone. There was a wild, untamed element in him. The Lion should have been as noble as any of Guilliman's brothers, but they had never been close, and there was something sly about him. Despite his personal reservations, Guilliman welcomed the Lion with the formality and respect his position deserved. The galaxy contained only 18 primarchs, and the meeting of even 2 of them was a rare event, a moment when the balance of the cosmos seemed temporarily and significantly weighed. Guilliman offered his brother an honor guard of nearly 47,000 soldiers, along with over 1 million civilians crowding the streets of Macragge for a glimpse of the Lion Lord and his renowned warriors. The people of Macragge came out in droves to celebrate the Lion's arrival. After a formal inspection of the Ultramarines Legion's impressive Macragge Civitas, the capital city of the planet, the 2 primarchs retired to a private chamber for a candid conversation. Guilliman had designed this meeting place specifically for the Emperor and his 20 sons. A long stone table dominated the room, surrounded by 21 chairs, each crafted for the giant stature of a primarch, and hewn from the same mountain granite as the table. The backs of these chairs were adorned with banners, each representing the personal symbol of one of the primarchs and his legion. The great seal at the head of the table was draped with the imperial pennant of terror. 2 of the banners were plain, made of bleached, undyed cloth, signifying places of honor for the missing but never forgotten lost primarchs of the 2nd and 11th Legions. The other 18 banners represented the Legiones Astartes themselves. Guilliman had created this chamber in the greatest city of his homeworld, with the hope that someday, after the Great Crusade, all his brothers could sit at a table with their father as equals and discuss the matters of the Empire. In this private chamber, Guilliman disclosed his plans to the Lion for the continuity of the Imperium. He emphasized the necessity for the Imperium to endure in one form or another, making it clear that they must ensure its survival. Guilliman confirmed to the Lion that he was in the process of establishing a second Imperium upon the remnants of the first. He was transparent about his motives, stressing that his intention was solely to keep the flame of their father's dream alive. This was not an act of empire building or an attempt to claim the throne for himself as Horus had done. The Avenging Sun already commanded a stellar empire, Ultramar, the 500 worlds. Guilliman wanted the Lion to understand that his only goal was to ensure the survival of their father's vision. Terror might have fallen, and their father might already be dead. The ruin storm prevented them from knowing the truth, and Guilliman intended to use this moment to their advantage, not to usurp the rightful ruler of the Imperium. He needed the Lion to see that he was not Horus. Guilliman explained to his brother that the crucial difference between himself and Horus was his lack of desire to be the new emperor. Instead, he proposed that the Lion take up the mantle as the new regent of Imperium Secundus. Ultimately, the arrival of their brother Sanguinius and his Blood Angels Legion on Macragge, fresh from the disastrous campaign in the Cygnus cluster, brought a crucial turning point. Guilliman persuaded the hesitant angelic Primarch to assume the role of regent of Imperium Secundus. Recognizing that Sanguinius embodied the noble qualities of the emperor more profoundly than any other. With Sanguinius accepting the position of Imperator Regius, regent of Imperium Secundus, Guilliman took on the role of Lord Warden. Meanwhile, Lionel Johnson was appointed the Lord Protector of Imperium Secundus, a title akin to that of War Master. The first significant test for Imperium Secundus came during the Battle of Sotha, where loyalist forces defended the pharaohs against a traitor onslaught. Fortunately for Guilliman, his forces emerged victorious, preserving the fleet's ability to navigate through the warp disturbances caused by the ruin storm. Following the battle, tensions rose between Guilliman and Lionel Johnson over how to deal with Conrad Kurz, the Primarch of the traitor Night Lord's Legion, who remained at large on Sotha. Kurz was suspected of orchestrating a series of suicide bombings and uprisings aimed at undermining Guilliman's authority on Macragge. In response, Lionel Johnson, in his capacity as Lord Protector, imposed martial law on Macragge using the Dark Angels. He deployed the Dreadwing, one of the 6 specialized hexagrammaton formations or wings, known for employing devastating weapons like phosphex and vortex weapons, to crush the rebellious areas of the planet. Kurz was eventually captured by the Lion in the Illyrium region and brought to trial. Back on Terra, Malcador had anticipated that Guilliman might attempt to establish his own empire if cut off from the throne world. The Regent of Terra was apprehensive that the Primarch might try to usurp the Emperor's authority. Malcador even hoped that the Dark Angels would intervene if Guilliman attempted to secede in a manner reminiscent of Horus. All this led to the incredible tension between Lion and Guilliman and their chapters. Several times peace held by a thread. One nudge from the forces of darkness could start a fire that would consume brothers in a civil war. What if change orchestrated a scheme to push the Primarchs just a little more? On the verdant planet of Callistra, a gleaming jewel in the crown of the Imperium, whispers of sedition began to echo through the bustling marketplaces and stately halls. Known for its thriving trade and loyal citizens, Callistra had long been a bastion of the Emperor's light. Yet, beneath its surface, a dark shadow was growing. Heretical whispers and insidious propaganda spread like wildfire, suggesting that the planet's loyalties were shifting. Guilliman was quick to receive reports of the burgeoning heretical cult. His network of spies and informants within the administratum had flagged unusual activities, including clandestine gatherings and an increasing number of disappearances among the citizenry. Guilliman understood the gravity of the situation. A cult, if left unchecked, could destabilize not just Callistra but the entire sector. Determined to act swiftly and